And she needs people to basically lie to their husbands, which they are promoting, by the way, which I find that entire advertising campaign so repulsive. It is so disastrous. It is just like
I'll show it in a minute.
It is the embodiment of the downfall of the American family. I think it's so gross. I think it's so just nauseating where this wife is wearing you'll show it, wearing the American hat. She's coming in with her sweet husband who probably works his tail off to make sure that she can go, and have a nice life and provide for the family. And then she lies to him saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. And then she votes for Kamala Harris as her little secret in the voting booth. Kamala Harris and her team believe that there will be millions of women that undermine their husbands and do so in a way that it's not detectable in the polling.
I mean, you gotta laugh, right? I mean, Charlie Kirk is having an absolute freaking meltdown about the fact that women may vote different from their husbands and that they had an ad about it. I mean, it would be funny. It is funny. It's freaking funny. I mean, look at him absolutely losing his mind about this. And the truth is, he should be, because women are outvoting him. It's just a ridiculous thing. And let's show you the ad that he's so super mad about. So the ad is actually narrated by Julia Roberts. You might recognize her voice. Short little 30-second ad. Let's watch this 30-second ad that made Charlie Kirk so sad.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want. And no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls. Vote Common Good is responsible for the contents of this ad.
This ad from Common Good, narrated by Julia Roberts. They are having a meltdown about this because, she looks like a MAGA mama and she voted for Harris Waltz. How dare she defy her husband? He works hard for her. He takes care of her. And they're all losing their freaking minds about this. And, it's the usual suspects who are losing their mind. Like, let's not forget Jesse Waters, that paragon of manhood himself.
And if I found out Emma was going into the voting booth and pulling the lever for Harris, that's the same thing as having an affair. That, to me...
Oh, my God. Let him finish. Go, Jesse. It's our day.
That violates the sanctity of our marriage.
Preach on, yes.
What else is she keeping from me?
Exactly.
What else has she been lying about?
Why would she lie to you? Have you
has...
threatened her? Why would she lie to you?
Oh, they want me to tease.
Why would she do that and then vote Harris? Why would she say she was voting
He's
Trump
not the problem.
and then voting Harris? And I caught her, and then she said, I lied to you for the last 4 years.
So you admit you intimidate
It's
people.
over, Emma. That would be D-Day.
It's over, Emma. Hey, by the way, fun fact. Emma was an intern at Fox News that when Jesse Waters was married, all about the sanctity of a marriage. While he was married to his previous wife, he got kind of turned on by Emma, actually drained the air from her tires at the studio and gave her a ride home. Isn't that funny? They had an affair. He got divorced and married that young lady who, God bless, dare her actually defy Jesse Waters. Oh my God, that's divorce right there. There you have it. That's what they think of women. And, and then of course, all this, you have to watch. There's like 4 of these videos that I want to tie together of what they're saying to you women. There's more to come, but let's see what Donald Trump had to say. Just last night, we're filming this today. He had some stuff to say about women too.
And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say, so why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
I'm going to do it whether women like it or not. I mean, that's quite a message for a guy who was found by a jury to have raped a woman, and then, of course, he defamed her for E. Jean Carroll. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna protect you whether you like it or not. I mean, nothing makes a woman feel safer than being told she's going to be protected. Look, the desperation is palpable. You can smell it. And you notice what he's wearing, his little garbage man outfit. We'll talk about. But look, I'm going to give you today's show. It's our last show before the election. As you can see, I'm back in our studio. I got Matt back there to keep me on time for a change. I'm not just flying around by myself. But the show is, look, this is going to make you mad. Guys, if you're new to the show especially, I'm going to say something right now. It's going to piss you off. And I'm sorry. I love you guys. But this is something you need to hear. And you need to hear honesty from me 4 days from the election. And that is, we're winning. We're winning. And I know it's not a cool thing to say about Democratic circles because we're all about wringing our hands and worrying and the sky is flying. And oh my God, Fred, 2016. I defy you, okay? We are winning, and it's okay to say that, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to have, and look, I'm not just talking out of my backside, which actually, to be fair, I probably am, but I'm not this time. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show you some facts. We're going to have a really good time this show because, you know, by golly, we are just a few days out from the most important election we've seen in probably our lifetimes. So let's just talk about it. Let's get on with the show. All right, we're back and I'm alone. It's okay. I can handle it. I'm not losing my mind. At least I'm not in my basement. So we are here in our beautiful studios, Half Coast Studios, talking about the election in just a few days. This is the last show before you guys finish voting. Hopefully you've already voted. We'll talk about that too. But, you know, look, if you've seen me, if you read my Substack, if you've seen me on Twitter, you know I've been using these messages and these things. And look, I'm a political guy, so, you know, we get on a message, we stick to our message. And I'm going to do that. And you may have heard these before, but I don't care. We're going to talk about it again. Look, here's the fact. We are winning. And it's okay to say that because people want to be on the winning team. And you know, we've got to run through the finish line. And look, if you ever run a race, which I sadly in my youth did run some races, as I've since recovered, thankfully. The only time I run now is maybe it's a bear chasing me, but even then I'd hop on my bike. But having said that, you know, you're running and you're on, let's say you're in a marathon. A friend of mine is going to run the Boston Marathon. And you're coming in that last few miles in Boston. You can't even see the finish line yet. You're climbing the hills and it's tough and you're ahead. But you still need signs, okay? You kind of know you're ahead. You can feel it, but you're tired. You've been running for a while, in our case, months and maybe even years. And, you know, there are signs. And what I want to do today, guys, I'm going to show you some signs. And we're going to cheer on those who are running through the finish line because they're encouraging. It's like somebody standing on the side of the road saying, you're doing great, okay? We're going to do that. We're going to talk to you guys who are loyal voters, our loyal listeners and followers and readers and viewers. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you some signs to encourage you to run through the finish line, okay? To keep running and don't celebrate too soon. I was joking the other day at another show. When I say celebrating too soon, just go back and watch the Washington Commanders versus Chicago Bears last week, and you see I'm going to talk about when the defensive end was taunting the Commanders fans as the Hail Mary pass came in and they lost the game. So we don't want to do that, but we're going to run through the tape. And here's your signs. There's 4 main signs you're going to see in this show today. We're going to talk about the ground game and how the two campaigns are running their ground game. We're going to talk about their closing messages, how very different they are. Do they even exist? We're going to talk about the momentum on each side of the campaign, on each side of the divide. And finally, a little bit about the actual voting that's occurring and why we should be enthusiastic and why there's good signs, but we're not there yet. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. Laid it all out for you. So let's get right at it. So ground game. Look, there ain't one, okay? There ain't one on the Trump side. And what happened was, if you guys remember, when Laura Trump took over the RNC, one of the first things she and her her co-chairmen did was to cut a lot. They cut a lot of their field program. They cut their minority outreach. They cut dozens and hundreds of their offices across the country, even as they win the ground game. And look, this is an amateur move. So for those of us in politics, you know, it's such an amateur move. Why? Because it looks very expensive. When you set up district offices, when you set up block offices, when you hire organizers out in the field, it is very expensive for a campaign because you have to hire these people early, okay? And they're knocking doors the whole time. They're organizing. But what they're doing is they're organizing. They're putting together teams. I know maybe you've seen videos of things like marching bands at historically black colleges, marching students to the polls. That didn't happen in a vacuum. That happened because there's an organizer on the ground, in this case in the Harris campaign, saying, hey, let's do something cool and organizing it, and they do it. These things don't happen in a vacuum. But a lot of campaigns don't like doing them because they're very expensive, okay? It's cost money to run those offices, to rent offices, to find them. It's a lot of work. And for the most of the campaign, it's sort of, meh, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter. We didn't really have a primary, etc. Well, it does matter, because when it matters is right now. This last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as early voting begins, those are the investments that pay off right now when you have to get people to the polls. And what they're doing over on the Trump side is they just got rid of it all. They have very few volunteer door knockers canvassing. There is real research that shows that people are 8% more likely to vote and vote for a specific candidate if they are actually visited and the messages are given to them. Not just by the candidate, but by the volunteers and enthusiastic volunteers. But what does Trump have? Well, they've got paid Elon canvassers. Like literally, they kind of outsourced the whole thing to Elon Musk's America PAC, and he's spending millions and millions of dollars. And what we're finding is, my God, there's even a story, I'm not going to show the picture, of they're actually like human trafficking people to get them to knock doors. And let me tell you something, folks. People who are paid do not do as good a job as those who are volunteers. Now, it's not always the case. Paid canvassers are really great at helping organize. A paid canvasser is a professional who can maybe help your volunteers. But if you're relying exclusively on paid canvassers, people who are just doing it for the work, there's so many problems with that. One, they can lie. They don't necessarily knock the doors. They can spoof the GPS. When they do knock, it's kind of like this. Hi, I'm here for Trump. No, okay, great, good talk, and they leave, okay? They're not bought into your messaging where they're going to try and they're not going to spend 10 minutes at a door like I have. I've spent 15, 20 minutes. I remember on door knocking with Marcus Flowers down in Georgia, and we spent 20 minutes drinking iced tea in the front yard with a lovely lady and her husband who just wanted to talk. That's what a volunteer canvasser will do, because they're not being paid by the number of doors they knock. Get it? So a paid canvasser, what they're going to do is they're going to knock, because they get paid by the door. They're going to knock as many as they can to complete their list, so they can get paid. And that's exactly what we're hearing happening out with Elon's paid canvassers. On the other side, Harris's team, my God, they have over, I saw a story today that one of the unions is claiming that they're going to have 3.5 million doors knocked just from their 60,000 union members. Think about that number, 3.5 million. Harris campaign has held a steady advantage over Trump. They have let's see, over 353 field offices, over 2,500 paid staff members just in the 7 battleground states, you guys. Just 7 battleground states, they have 353 offices. Their volunteer effort's been surging. They've had just from October 14th, 21st to the 21st, which was last week, they did over 124,000 volunteer shifts. Their volunteers knocked on 1.6 million doors across the country and made 20 million phone calls, all with volunteers. That is a ground game. And through October 1st election day, Harris and her super PAC will have spent $328.3 million on ads just in the battleground states alone. And that's compared to just Trump getting at $215 million. By him and his groups. And for the most part, Trump and his team are not running ads anywhere but the battleground states. Matter of fact, I told you guys I live in Missouri. The first time I saw a Trump ad, the actual first time I saw a Trump ad was when I was on the East Coast for the Vote Vets bus tour, if you remember 2 weeks ago. I was on that. That was the first time I saw a Trump ad. Haven't seen a single one here in Missouri. I did see a couple, of course, they had those ridiculous commercials during the World Series and occasionally during football. But they're not running ads because they don't have the money to do it. They're spending $85 million a month on his lawyer bills. It's just not there. So that is a big part. So our first clue that we're winning is at a much better ground game at the end here. Now let's talk about closing messages. And I got some clips now. It's a simple thing. The Harris-Walz campaign actually has messages they're focused on. I mean, if you've seen them, you know what they're focusing on. They're focusing on freedom. They're focusing on a woman's right to choose. They're focusing on improving Medicare. The other day, she did an entire policy day on Puerto Rico. At the same time, well, here's the kind of stuff that the Trump campaign's doing right now. They're doing, let's watch this clip and I'll show you what they're doing. This is what they did this week. You probably saw it.
250 million people are not garbage. I can tell you who the real garbage is, but we won't say that.
All right, guys. go.
All right, guys, pull camera.
Right here, keep coming. Night.
So allegedly, unfortunately, President Biden may have stumbled his words, and the far right's been taking it to say that he called Trump supporters garbage. You know, as Trump comes off his plane that day and says, oh, 250 million people are garbage. And people are confused by that. What he means is everyone who didn't vote for Biden. So it's 330 million minus 81 or some shit. That's where he came with the number 2. So he's saying that the majority of America is garbage, the president. So they got their bright idea, we think from Cat Turd, to actually do like, we're going to get a garbage truck. We're going to put Trump on the side. We're going to and if you notice that video, the story out of that video is him stumbling, trying to open the door. He almost falls over. And so now today's news headlines, instead of about his closing message, is about him possibly being physically disabled, where he's having trouble with his right leg and he couldn't find the thing. And then, of course, this is an actual picture and a screenshot from the Drudge Report over here of Trump standing on the tarmac. And that's a real picture of Trump taken by Getty Images where he looks like an Oompa Loompa, okay? And so you see Drudge saying, is this trick or treat? And then let's talk about the rallying messages. So he had his rally last week at Madison Square Garden, which was touted by everyone as is going to be the start of his closing message campaign. And how did that go? Well, let's look at some of the message they put out during that rally. And we're calling it the hate rally. CNN did this montage of what was said at the rally.
These Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. That's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that, a lampshade? I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome.
She is some sick Hillary Clinton, huh? What a sick son of a The whole party, a bunch of degenerates.
She is the devil, whoever screamed that out. She is the Antichrist. It's going to be pretty hard to look at us and say, you know what? Kamala Harris, she got 85 million votes because she's just so impressive. As the first Samoan, Malaysian, low IQ, former California prosecutor ever to be elected president.
After those disgusting warm-up acts, Trump then ratcheted up his incendiary, vengeful rhetoric.
I will launch the largest deportation program in American history to get the criminals out. I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered. And when I say the enemy from within, the other side goes crazy, becomes a sound. Oh, how can he say? No, they've done very bad things to this country. They are indeed the enemy from within. But this is who we're fighting. They're the enemy of the people, the press.
So that was his big, joyful rally. He went on TV the next day when everybody thought he might walk some of that stuff back. Instead, no, it was a love fest. That's Donald Trump's version of love, okay? Hatred towards minorities, hatred towards his opponents. We're the enemy's within. That's his closing message, is that they're going to unleash vengeance on average Americans. And that's the kind of thing he's putting out. Literally, you have to say that had to be planned, okay? Look, none of that happened in a vacuum. Every one of those speakers you saw saying that sick stuff, their speeches were on the teleprompters. The comedian they're trying to distance themselves from, nah, bro. They saw his jokes, you put them on the teleprompter. So we ain't buying that. That is the Donald Trump closing message, okay? But wait, there's more. You know, we saw a little bit of what they said about women at the beginning. This is John McEntee. Maybe you know John McEntee. He's been a strap hanger of the administration for a while, the Trump administration. He came in early and actually kind of left because he had a problem with his clearance. They brought him back in those closing days. He actually ran the Office of Personnel. There was rumors and stories about him running like a frat house, the drinking on the job, drinking inside the Eisenhower Executive Building. Just ridiculous shit, let's be honest. And well, he likes, his favorite thing to do is these cute little videos he does while eating. Then you in mind that you're about to see a guy who by every measure is probably going to be part, almost for certain, be part of the new Trump administration. Let's see what he says. Let's see what he says right here.
I think as well. I think this video has made me rethink the 19th Amendment, but let's keep it going.
So I guess they misunderstood. When we said we wanted male-only voting, we meant male, M-A-L-E.
Have you seen a more punchable face? I mean, let's be honest. That's a punchable face, okay? Yeah, just male voting. You girls, you hyper girls. We're going to talk about female voting in a little while, but that's closing messages. And this is why they're such a mess. They cannot get everybody to stay on the same sheet of music. For example, Elon Musk, of course, has been one of their big proponents, right? Elon owns this campaign in a lot of ways now. They have sold themselves to Elon. We know that's been going on for a while. If you're on Twitter for more than a minute, you know Elon's doing things there. He's been speaking. He did a town hall, and I won't run a clip of it, where he said that for Trump to really take charge, there's going to be and get the economy and get the government under control. You know, he's saying that he's going to make Elon's going to be in charge of cutting things, right? And there's going to be some economic pain in that process, right? And they're trying to spin this. And let's look at, here's a chart. I'll throw this chart up real quick. They're saying, Elon's saying that he's going to cut $2 trillion from the budget. That Trump said this too, that he's authorized Elon to cut $2 trillion from the budget. Ladies and gentlemen, this chart on the screen right now is from a nonprofit. That's the $1.7 trillion of the U.S. discretionary spending, which means that is the only money that the Congress gets choice over. The rest is, guess what? Social Security, Medicare, those are entitlement programs. So I'm not a math guy. That's why I write. That's why I speak on camera. But if you're going to cut $2 trillion a year and the entire almost budget, the discretionary budget is 1.7, and 50% of that is the DOD, I'm curious, where exactly are you going to cut that money from? And you got to give Stuart Varney credit, because he asked that question too the other day to Tom Emmer. Just yesterday, asking Tom Emmer, gee, Tom, you know, how are you going to do this? And this is, again, a Republican trying to explain these big ideas for their closing message.
Congressman, there's widespread skepticism that he can actually get this done. Can you tell me how he's going to cut $2 trillion out of the budget?
Well, first of all, it can be done. We can cut $2 trillion out of the budget. Keep in mind now,
but how?
The Biden-Harris administration.
Hold on a second. Congressman, I'm sorry, but $2 trillion is an enormous amount of money. How's he going to do it?
Well, our budget is an enormous amount of money, let me remind you. But even through executive action, just by executive action, the Biden-Harris administration has spent $1.2 trillion. There you have it. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Let me assure you, as a member of the Budget Committee, I can assure you there is plenty of waste, fraud, and abuse, plenty of money that can be cut in our budget. And we are doing that in the Budget Committee right now. We are looking and trying to balance our budget. And we've got a plan over the next 10 years. If we follow that plan, we can balance our budget.
God, it makes my head hurt. So he says that the Biden budget, $1.2 trillion is the executive action. Okay, first of all, that's a lie. And if it is even close to being true, it's over 4 years of administration. And it's not waste, fraud, and abuse because it was done by executive action. It's actually doing things, okay? Things like helping our allies keep free. But you don't just, the executive of the presidency just doesn't get to spend $1.2 trillion as waste, fraud, and abuse. The ridiculousness, the idea you can cut $2 trillion from a budget of $1.7 trillion total is so stupid. And this is the kind of things they paint themselves into a corner with these closing messages they're using, is they literally have no idea what the F they're talking about. And that's before we talk about our friend, Johnson going on camera, which I'm not going to run the clip anymore, of him saying, yeah, we're going to have to cut Obamacare. So the other closing message now they're dealing with the fallout from is Speaker Johnson himself saying they have a plan to cut Obamacare. Okay, a very popular program, right? Millions of people get health care thanks to Obamacare, to the ACA, and yet they're still trying to cut it because they don't care. Meanwhile, Harris and the Democrats are on a consistent set of messages. They're hammering them from start to finish. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We have been going for a while. Let's hear from our sponsors this week, and then we'll get right back. Yeah, it's fall. But for me, it's also election season. It is a stressful time. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going a million miles an hour right now. We're just a few weeks from the election. We're a few weeks from, into school. I mean, it is always a crazy time this time of year. And I have to watch after my stress and I have to watch after my health this time of year. So that's why heart healthy energy is so important to me, an important aspect of my life. Because if I don't stay healthy, if I don't stay energized in this business, I will not survive. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the unique antioxidant compound in Superbeats is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone, which I try to live, but may not always live up to. Heart health is important to me because, I just hit almost 60. Don't tell anybody. I'm getting that age right now. I've got some, I got some problems with my knees. I got a bad back. So I have to add those things into my lifestyle to help me be more healthy. And I have found, honest to God, that Superbeat heart chews actually do help me. I get more energy. I don't get a crash afterwards. It's very health energy. It's all natural. It's plant-based chew. There's no stimulants and there's no artificial sweeteners, but it tastes great anyway. So I do use Superbeats heart chews every single day, and they really help me out a lot. Now, here's the good news for you. You can get them too. You can double your potential with Superbeats heart chews. Now, get a free 30-day supply of Superbeats heart chews on all bundles, and you get 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeats.com and using code FRED. Yep, my name. Super easy. That place for that is, again, getsuperbeats, BETS.com, code FRED. Getsuperbeats.com today. They're great. I use them. They help me with my energy and keep me going so I can be here for you every week and keep telling the story of our democracy. So finishing that up, the Democrats' closing messages are consistent and thorough. You're seeing it. They're doing rallies on each topic. She had a rally for reproductive rights with Beyonce. She had a rally of 75,000, we'll talk about. At the Ellipse, 75,000 people talk about democracy. They have a consistent message. It was kind of funny because the Republicans have been kind of mocking Harris about how her speeches keep saying the same thing. Yes. Hell yes. That's the whole point, y'all. The whole point is of a stump speech. The whole point of us saying the same thing is it's gonna sink in because we know, those of us who are professionals know that the average person is just tuning in and they're not watching every damn speech every day. They're not glued to Twitter like a maniac. They're not watching cable news because it's awful. They're not seeing her say the same things over and over. They may see it just one time. So yes, you stick to a consistent message until it comes home. And by the way, it shows because she is now closing the gap in the popularity as far as her way to handle the economy. The one thing that Trump had for him was this stupid belief that he had better control of the economy than she did. But the fact is, he doesn't, and he didn't. And we'll show some numbers on that too. But by being consistently on message, the Democrats at all levels, to include all the surrogates, Obama, Mrs. Obama, they're all on message because it's coordinated and it's a professional campaign. And they're not eating their words like saying Puerto Rico's a garbage island, because they're doing it. And even Biden's little glitch was just him stuttering, for goodness sake. They're killing him on the closing message. It's a machine as well. So what's next? Momentum. Let's fact. Guys, he's lost, okay? Trump is lost. We've talked about it a little bit already, but everyone in the campaign, everyone out here, come on, be honest with yourself. You could feel the Trump campaign sputtering to the finish line. They know it. You've seen the videos, if you're very online like I am, you'll see videos consistently of him not filling stadiums anymore. Greg Bluestein from the AJC just 3 days ago had video of his big rally in Atlanta. He was going to show how he can bring people out, and he doesn't need celebrities to do it. And the same stadium that Kamala used was half empty. They're not filling it to the rafters anymore. Meanwhile, Kamala's filling overfull crowds. They put screens outside the venues for Kamala's events now because most people can't get in. 75,000 people literally stood at the National Mall. I had a friend go. He got there at 1 p.m., which means he probably left his house at 12. He was there at 1:30 to get in line. He didn't get home till 10. Think about that. 9 to 10 hours to see Kamala speak for 20 minutes. Okay? And 75,000 people did that. That, my friends, is momentum. Okay? And it's real. And then that's before we talk about voting enthusiasm. Let me throw this first chart up. So this chart just came out, and I love this chart. Trump has his favorite charts. I love this chart. This chart shows voter enthusiasm from 2000 until today. And look at those bouncing balls, okay? Look at the end point there. From 2016, Hillary Trump, look at the enthusiasm gap, to now. Look at the line. The top line, the blue line, obviously, is Democrats. But here's really where it gets interesting. Let's do the next slide, Matt. This one, voter enthusiasm during the 2024, this is just this cycle. Look at that, you guys. That's back, this chart starts in about March when the campaign shifted, when President Biden took the brave step to step down and Vice President Harris took up. Look at that chart. 80% tops out in enthusiasm during the DNC, but she's sitting at 77% Democratic voter enthusiasm compared to Republicans topping out right now at 67. That is huge. You see at the beginning of this chart, you guys, look, the red was above the blue. And now that ain't so. That is a chart of momentum, if you wonder what momentum looks like on a chart. And that's before we talk about the good timing of things. Look at the good timing of things. So we've got the last jobs report came out. It's incredible. We got economic data coming out. This just came out. This is a fascinating chart. This is the real GDP, our gross domestic product from 2019 till now. The blue line, that straight line in the middle, you guys, it may be hard to see on screen. That straight line you see in the middle is the projected GDP growth based on economic numbers during the Trump presidency. This is what we expected. You can see the red line is the actual. Guess what? We had a pandemic. What a trek. President Biden takes over that little bump in 2020. Okay. Now look, here we are in 2024, and we are exceeding GDP. Exceeding. We went from being 10 to 15 points below what we expected to being 10 points over in 4 years. And we still have more economics coming out. I'm going to read this whole thing. This is from my friend Simon Rosenberg. You guys know Simon. I didn't want to bother him to get him on the show because, gosh darn, he's a busy guy. Here's what Simon has to say. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we've had the longest period of low unemployment in peacetime. We've had in peacetime American economy since World War II, and the best job market since the 60s. Yes, 4 years of record jobs. The stock market is breaking records. GDP growth has been 3% over 3 years. We had the lowest uninsured rate in American history. The rate of formation of new businesses is at an all-time high. Wage growth has been running ahead of inflation for some time now, and that's true. The battle against inflation has been won. It's coming down. Gas prices are down. Matter of fact, they're expecting to go below $3 this week. The deficit is lower. Crime is down. Drug overdose is down. Obesity is down. The flows of the border are lower than they were at the end of the Trump presidency. We passed the first bipartisan gun safety bill in 30 years. Domestic oil, gas, renewable production are higher than they've ever been in the history of the world. We're more energy independent today than we've been in decades, and certainly more energy independent than we were under Donald J. Trump. That, my friends, that's momentum. That's what it looks like when you wonder what it looks like. That is momentum. And finally, the last thing of these four. Everybody says, Fred, what about the polls? What about Polymarket? Polymarket's fate. We won't spend any time on that. What is actually happening? Well, I'll tell you, I live in Missouri. And here in Missouri, they're expecting, I can believe this number, they're expecting 70 to 73% turnout for this election. 73% turnout. We know historically high turnout races are always good for Dems. That's a lot of turnout, okay? GOP early voting is higher than we've ever seen before. Look as well. So GOP voting is early. Now, what we are seeing, there's a guy named Tom Bunny who does a great job with this. He's showing that basically the GOP, the Republicans and MAGA, have actually just stretched out what would have been their election day voting over the early voting periods in these states. They're not seeing new voters. The majority of the people on the Republican side who are voting early right now voted last time. Okay, they're not new voters. Whereas on the other side, 10 to 20% of the Democratic early voters are first time. They haven't voted last time or the time before. That's an advantage Dem. That means either there's new voters, there's new registered voters. It's an enthusiasm gap. Does that make sense? And that's before we see real optimism. And that's the gender gap. And here's a headline from Politico talks about it. There's real optimism because the gender gap is staggering across the country. Overall, right now in early voting across the country, there's a 55 to 45 gender gap, women versus men. Now, there typically is a gap, but this is a big one. And some swing states, it's running 13 points or more. I think Pennsylvania right now, it's a 13-point gender gap between early voting between men and women. That tells you what we all know, you guys. We know women are mad. Okay? You know you're mad. And they're voting. Young voters are coming out. So I don't know. Maybe this is the year the polls break. It's not once in here did I ever show you a poll. Not once in here did I talk about the stupid Polymarket averages, which, by the way, are coming back around. And I predicted a week or two ago, if you follow me, and I think I said it in the show, the polls are going to come back, and they are. They're showing an average 3 to 4 point nationally for her and key swing states. Right now, it really looks like we're going to win the popular vote and the electoral vote. It may or may not be close. I don't think it's going to be that close. Hopefully we'll know quickly, but we'll find out. So what's my closing message to you on that? I know you're mad at me right now, okay? There's probably people who are really, and I can't wait to see the comments. Can you say, Fred, how dare you give us optimism? No, it's okay. People want to be on the winning team. People want to be cheered to the finish line because they'll go faster. I don't want us limping over the finish line. I want us sprinting to the finish line. If you haven't voted yet, vote. If your friends haven't voted yet, get them to vote. If your kids haven't voted yet, get them to vote. We win when we vote. We win when we organize. And that's what I'm trying to tell you right now. You should be buoyed by all these incredible things, these 4 points. Those are the fundamentals I talk about all the time, and I ignore polls. Ignore the polls because the polls, I don't know what's going on in our polling right now, folks. It's all over the place. And maybe we'll find out at the election what happened, I know. But here's my heartfelt belief. They are not measuring people who are pissed. They're not measuring new voters. Our friends over at Field Team 6 has claimed they've registered over 5 million new voters in the swing states. 5 million new voters in the swing states alone. Those are significant numbers if the majority of them are Democrat. So I'm telling you all this because I want you to run through this weekend and into Tuesday motivated, confident, with your chin held high. Wear your colors, get out there, talk to your friends and neighbors. It's not over till it's over. You're not done till the polls close. We have to run through the tape now. So I wanted to give one last show before the election where you and I just have a conversation, or I just kind of talked at you, I apologize, about why I think we're winning and the work that has to be done to continue it, and why you should feel good about an incredible campaign run by the Harris Walz campaign, which was pulled out of nothing 5 months ago, and has now come to this point. And funny, as you watch this show on Friday the 1st, Rovember is here. Rovember is here. We've been talking about it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's Rovember. Ever since Dobbs, we've talked about Rovember. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today is Rovember. And we got to remember that. And you got to vote for your daughters. You got to vote for your sisters, for your mom, for your future daughters, for your wives, everyone. Men, you got to get out there. I need you to vote, man. I need you to vote because we can win this if we run through the tape. And with that, I'm not going to drag this out any longer. You know where to find me. You find us right here on Democracy Podcast, YouTube channel. I'd love you to subscribe while you have time. You can find me online at FP1. I'm still fighting the good battle on X, FP1 official everywhere else. In the meantime, check out our videos on Vote Vets we're doing online. Vote Vets is a great show. We're doing live streams there. I'm going to be adding live streams to my channel. So if you subscribe to On Democracy Podcast on YouTube, you'll start seeing me doing live streams this week. I'm all set up, got to set up my home studio, start doing live streams. We'll probably do them during the day, during the election, just so you can kind of see what's going on. I'll give you my perspective on things. So be sure to subscribe on Democracy Podcast on YouTube and all my different social media channels. You can see it. And of course, as always, you got to follow and like the MeidasTouch Network. My friends have been so good to us this year. Incredible time to be a part of the MeidasTouch Network as we pass through 3 million subscribers. This is the place, y'all. This is the moment we've been waiting for. We've been fighting for this for 2 years. We're here now. Let's get to it and win it. I'll see you next week.